Okay, we are gonna finish up this portion on life cycle nutrition. So we talked a little bit about adolescent nutrition and special issues, right? So especially eating disorders can be a problem during this time. They tend to start sometimes during this time. So especially we want to be especially conscious of this. I've given you some resources for eating disorders. Okay, so also with adolescent nutrition, energy intake can be as high as 4,000 calories in males and some females, and a lot of it is related to lean body mass and activity level, right? Somebody who's very, very active and has this increase in lean body mass can really burn that many calories in a day. It's frequently lower in females, mostly because of a smaller body size, and sometimes, in those teenage years because of decreased physical activity. Although, with the introduction of Title IX many years ago, so that women's sports were made to be as important as men's sports. That is not nearly as much the case as it once was. So obviously this is somewhat of a generalization, right? So not in all males or not in all females. You could have small males or males that don't do any exercise. You can have females that do lots and lots and lots of exercise, or are big, have lots of muscles. So it's not always the exact case. Okay, so it's important really in these teenage years to emphasize physical activity, right? Because there may be some indication that fat cells grow in size and number at this age, and that we have an increasing amount of obesity in kids compared to past generations, as well as type 2 diabetes. So we really want to encourage the physical activity and proper nutrition during this time. Okay, so remember that in adolescence, iron needs are going to increase. For females, because they're going to start menstruating at this age in these teenage years, right? They're going to lose a little bit of the iron every month in their blood, and in males, primarily due to increases in lean body mass, right? They've got the increase in muscle and blood, and they're going to have a little extra iron because of that. Okay, calcium needs are going to increase for proper bone development. We've talked about the female athlete triad. We've talked about calcium. Remember that calcium needs are going to go up because these are the peak bone-laying years. They're not when you reach peak bone mass. Maximum bone mass is not reached until later in life. But adolescent years are when humans put down the most amount of bone in the shortest amount of time. Okay? We want to emphasize that calcium. Nice, big, strong bones. Okay? So around 1,300 milligrams a day. Again, these calcium chews I really think are a good idea for most women. They are 500 milligrams of calcium. You can buy them in Costco, CVS, wherever. You can buy them in any local drugstore usually, and one of those a day goes a long way towards, it's almost half of your daily calcium intake. Okay, so in older adults, let's talk a little bit about older adults. So, about 100 years ago, life expectancy was only 47 years. Today, it's between 72 and 79, and it keeps going up. So that presents a bit of a problem. So we set RDAs for adults over 50. Well, what is adequate for a 50-year-old may not be adequate for a 75 or 80-year-old, right? It wasn't that long ago that when you were 50 or 60, you weren't really expected to live that much longer, but these days, people can live well into their 90s and be healthy and active well into that age. I personally know people that are in their 70s that are probably more active than most college students. So this is an important thing. We need more research in this area for sure. So some things that we do need to think about with older adults is energy requirements tend to decrease with age, primarily due to a loss of lean body mass, so muscle, and a decrease in physical activity. And again, this is not always the case. I know some very, very fit, very, very active people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s even. But, after age 50, typically energy needs are going to go down by about 5% per decade. And again, this is typical, not always. So the thing about older adults is they need the same number of a lot of nutrients, the same amount of a lot of nutrients, vitamins and minerals and things, or maybe they need more, right? They remain the same or they increase, except for iron, which tends to go down a little bit. So even though their energy needs go down, so their energy needs are going down, but they need as much vitamin D and calcium and other minerals, right? So that means that their foods need to be more nutrient dense, right? So it's very important that older people get nutrient-dense food because they're frequently eating it less, but they need just as many vitamins and minerals. So another issue is that some research shows that thirst mechanism decreases with age, and that older adults may lose bladder control, so they may not want to drink, right? So we need to make sure that our older folks are well hydrated. So there are also lots of social issues that can interfere with eating nutrition status. Loss of a spouse, oral health problems, altered taste, poverty, depression, and loneliness and confusion, right? You know, I can tell you about these circumstances. I deal with a bit with my grandmother. She's 90 years old. She tells me she can't taste anything, so she doesn't really want to eat as much as she used to because she doesn't get as much enjoyment out of it. You know, also with poverty, there are issues with you know, with people that don't have enough money. My grandmother as well, she's in her 90s. When she was in her 60s, I don't think she ever thought that she would live into her 90s. And the fact is that she's running out of money. Luckily, she has my mother and father and me and my other siblings to help her out as that becomes more and more of an issue, but not everyone has that, right? Some people may be relying on Meals on Wheels or other social services. You can also have depression and loneliness, right? Again, I'll tell you my personal story about my grandmother who, you know, sometimes she tells me that she feels like everybody she ever knew has died, you know, everybody except the younger generation. And even some people that are a generation younger than her, you know, they're dying of age-related diseases. Also, confusion. People get dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that, and they quite frankly just forget to eat. They don't know if they've eaten, right? So that can be a big issue as adults get older. So encouraging physical activity in these older adults can help by improving strength, maintaining muscle mass, and just improving their activities of daily living, right? And just feeling better can help influence these changes in dietary habits, such as the loneliness and the dementia and some of these other things, right? Exercise and getting a little physical activity helps with all these things. Again, with my grandmother, I remember about 15 years ago buying her a video called Sit and Be Fit. And it was a video of a lady in sitting in a chair doing exercises with soup cans and encouraging other older folks to exercise along with her. Right, and that doesn't seem like much to most of you, but when you get to be in your 80s, it's probably better than nothing. It's definitely better than nothing. Okay, so that is the end on Lifecycle Nutrition. Make sure and read that chapter in your book. And if you have any questions, post them on the discussion forum. Thank you.